Hello, hello. Welcome to Courage Becomes Her, where we connect and share real life stories. I'll talk with women whom I love and am inspired by, women who are experiencing life just like you and me. I'm excited for us to gather together and cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in life and work.
An adventure is the thing that makes you a hero at the end. Now, when I look at the adventure or the snake pits or the big, opposition in all things, I'm starting to think every time those things happen, I think, well, this must really be worth doing. The bigger the challenge that's set in front of me, or the bigger the opposition to try to stop me from pursuing that, just lets me know that I'm onto something.
That was Elizabeth Fiorito. I am delighted to introduce you to my friend Elizabeth today. She is a veteran public school teacher, 20 plus years of being in public education, teaching literature at every high school level, and she just exudes love for literature and desires for each of us to have a love for literature as well as a love for adventure, which you'll hear a lot about in today's conversation. I am personally continuously inspired by Elizabeth and her dream trips that she plans and sometimes takes, and her love for travel and history and looking at dream homes, these, beautiful old homes, ornate homes that are from the Victorian era and all of those things. It's just, she's a romantic in a beautiful way that just helps us to dream and to think about the possibilities, which we're going to talk a lot about today. She and her darling Cocker Spaniels live in her very romantically styled home that is very European-esque in the desert of California, which you'll hear her talk a little bit about that as well. So in this conversation today, we talk about Elizabeth's leap of faith to live a life of adventure through her love of literature. And over the last couple years, you'll hear her talk about her growing awareness that her dream job is no longer what it used to be. And she's now gotten to a place where it feels like she's trapped by it. So we talk about how that ultimately led her to start a new adventure and her process of working through doubt and overwhelm and the opinions of others to stay true to herself and her new dream. She also talks about a big mindset and perspective shift that she had about opposition and challenge as she went through this journey. So I'm really excited for you to join in and listen today to this conversation with Elizabeth. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining me today for this conversation of Courage Becomes Her. I am really genuinely looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Laurel. I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here with you. It's just such a pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me.
Oh my gosh, of course. No, this is going to be fun and enriching and just a great conversation. So thank you. Okay, so let's get to know you a little bit first. So first off, where is home?
Oh my goodness. Home is Hemet, California, in Southern California. So if everybody's listening, they're thinking, where the heck is Hemet? So we always say you draw a triangle from San Diego inland and LA inland. You hit just a little bit south of Palm Springs, and that's where we are.
Yeah, great. And lifelong Hemet gal.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I have lived other places, but I keep coming back for more.
Yep. Yeah. So good. Oh, I love it. And you've got a house full of puppies.
I sure do. I'm a little bit of a dog hoarder, but particularly Cocker Spaniels. And I don't apologize for this. I thoroughly 100%. My sister and I send each other memes of her with dachshunds, like dachshund farms when she's retired. And she's like, we need a bordering property so that you have the Cocker Spaniels, I have the dachshunds. We just open the gates and just let them mix. And that sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. That sounds pretty good indeed. Super fun. I love it. All right. Speaking of childhood, what was the first concert that you ever went to?
Okay, this is a very important story in my life, but I'll just tell you. It was Julian Lennon.
Oh.
Yes, you weren't expecting that one, were you?
No.
Julian Lennon at the Wiltern Theater. I was 14 years old, and there was no way it was going to happen. And a miracle happened that I'll never forget. And my mom, with a broken leg, took me and my best friend across the street, like 120 miles an hour down the freeway to get to LA on time. And we saw Julian Lennon in, like, I want to say 1989.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. So crazy. Wow. What a memory.
Yeah. Super I think I'm the only one with that concert answer.
So far. We'll see if anybody else comes up with that in the future. Oh, so good. All right. What has made you laugh or filled your cup in the last day or so?
In the last day or so, what has filled my cup is we were talking about earlier, the just sheer randomness of life. Like, you think your day is going to go a certain way and you make all these plans and it's not, and you should, but it's always like, and let's mix it up by throwing in weird rescue attempts and weird people that you haven't seen for 30 years. And that just makes me laugh because it's like, in all my life, I could not have predicted this. Yeah.
Wow. It's super fun. Yeah. Life does keep us on our toes. That's great.
But it's good too, because it's opportunity. You keep thinking, oh, well, these are my opportunities. This is how life is going to go. These are the people I know. What are you talking about? You could end up with somebody you haven't talked to for 35 years that you're meeting in 20 minutes. You don't know.
Wow. Wow. That's wild. Super crazy. All right. What's a current obsession of yours in any genre?
Okay. Does this have to be okay. Can be anything.
Can be food, product. Yeah. Anything.
This is probably a little different bent on this question, but my current obsession is dream trip planning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. When the stakes are high and the students are loud, I'm like, where would I choose to go in a dream scenario?
Yes.
Then I plan a whole thing. I look up everything. I have no budget. I look at the greatest places. And then I'm so into it. By the time I'm done with the day, I've been there. I've seen it. And it's on my vision board. Yes. Dream trip planning.
I love it. That's so good. And sometimes you actually do take your dream trips. Like last summer, your trip to Switzerland. Yeah. I love that.
Dreams can come true. They're expensive.
They are.
But they can come true, man. Yes.
So fun. Well, we live in a time when it is so easy to find anything and everything, videos, pictures, testimonials and comments. And so
Google Earth, you just take that little guide.
Oh,
what does this village look like? Put them in there, look around.
I love it.
Oh my goodness, it's amazing.
That's so good. That's a great obsession. I like that one a lot. All right. What's the best movie or show that you've seen in the last year-ish?
Okay, so true confession, I am of the British mystery genre, usually PBS variety. Yeah, yep. I totally share this. And there's just been so many that I have binged way too fast. Currently, I am watching Scott and Bailey, which is a British police show, and the detectives are female, and the whatever it is, boss is female. And it's so unusual to the other ones. And I love it so much. I'm trying to pace myself. Spoon Bailey on BritBox. Like it's from 2011. It's older, but oh, it is so good.
Okay, that's not one that I've seen yet, so I got to
I've
check
never
that
even
one out.
heard of it. And it's so good.
Fun. Good. Okay, your Enneagram and love language. Do you know either?
I don't know. I've heard your guests talk about the Enneagram, and that I don't have an affinity for that. But I think my love language is words of affirmation.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yep. And quality time.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Those are wonderful ones to have in that. Those both make perfect sense for you.
Yep.
All right. Because we're going to talk a lot about books, let's kind
Us.
of start with what book transformed your life?
I saw this question, and Laurel, to ask me what book transformed my life is just, when you ask a literature teacher, it is falling down a rabbit hole. Oh my goodness. I got weepy just thinking about it. But you know what I'm going to do is so I'm going to give you two answers.
Yeah,
The first
great.
is recently, the most powerful book that got me thinking about my life and my choices was Matt Haig's Midnight Library. That
Oh, you
book,
did tell me about that. Yeah.
oh my goodness, it blew my mind. I recommended
Mhm.
it on social media, and so many friends reached out and was like, oh my gosh, this book. And it's not
Mhm.
long, but the
Mhm.
premise is genius. The way he handles our choices in lives and paths not taken. And
Mhm.
sometimes we really beat ourselves up with like, well, maybe I'm here because I wasn't a better daughter. I could have been a better friend.
Mhm.
Maybe I should have kept in that relationship. Maybe it was my fault that it stopped. And the reason nothing has worked out is we're so eager to beat ourselves up, like
Mhm.
if I would have been more XYZ, then this would have worked out and I wouldn't be wherever you are. And in his book, he really um, dispels that, like
Yeah.
that you're looking at your life in a telescope from
Mhm.
far away from that moment.
Mhm.
And the truth is, you chose what you chose in that moment because you believed it was the best decision at the time.
Yeah.
And so, wherever you are, you have chosen in some capacity. And the good news is, you can choose again and again and again.
That's right.
And
That-
it was just such an eye opener. The
mm.
other book I'm going to say is for those that are reading that love older fiction. There's a 1980s, 1970s writer, Elizabeth Peters, and another one, Mary Stewart. They were both suspense writers for independent single women who
Huh.
went out on great adventures. To Mary Stewart, she always went to this fabulous country and got into this intrigue. There was always a beautiful British man there somehow, in Greece and Turkey and where Lebanon, whatever. And she always had two amazing British men choices, but she herself was always just autonomous and not afraid to go. And it was like this 1960s aesthetic of you can go anywhere and you can be glamorous and you can be rational and you can explore all these places. And Elizabeth Peters, she created a character called Amelia Peabody for the Amelia Peabody series. And if you have
Mm.
not read Elizabeth Peters, first one is Crocodile on the Sandbank. You need to get yourself out and you need to get that book. It changed my life.
So good. So good. Well, and I love that a big part of our conversation today is all about adventure. So, you, over the last 9 months, have taken a huge leap of faith to start a business and to go on this just incredible adventure of starting a business. And I've had the pleasure of journeying with you through it. and have been able to see the like where it is now, but also where it started. So I'd love for us to just talk a little bit historically, like first off, what made you decide that you even wanted or needed to start a business? Because obviously you have a day job that you've been incredibly successful at for 2 decades. And
Oh my
so there
gosh.
maybe wasn't, a necessity, if you will. So let's start there and then we'll talk more all about this adventure.
Okay, so Laurel, this is a very long story, so I'm going to try to be what I am normally not, which is succinct. Okay, short story. Yes, teaching was my dream job initially. Like I went into it, and I think that needs to be clear. I think a lot of us go into jobs and they are initially our dream jobs, and we have excellent experiences with them. We become masters of our craft. And it's okay to say when it's not serving us anymore, or we know we're at that point where we need to move forward, maybe even in the same arena.
Yeah.
But the dream job when you're 30 or 25 or 35, it makes complete sense
Yeah.
that maybe perhaps you've outgrown that dream to progress to a new dream. Now, in my particular vocation with teaching, and again, I feel like a lot of women can relate to this, is that I felt like if you're really good at that job and it provides you a lot of stability, that's why one of the reasons why it's your dream job initially.
Mm-hmm.
But it can slowly ensnare you to become a trap. And it's been about 5 years, maybe longer, that I've started to feel like the walls closing in on me because there were things that were shifting in education that I did not approve of and I don't like, that showed me this is not the landscape that was my dream initially. And I've done this. I need more. But what does that look like? For a teacher, I was very well compensated. I am very well compensated. I have friends. I have retirement. I have medical benefits. If I leave, I lose all of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, 62 is a long way from me still. And now it's suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
don't see a way out. I don't see another job that I could take that I would enjoy as much as this.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing comes to mind. Also, I feel a little bit trapped where I live because I feel like I have to be here because of different
Mm-hmm.
reasons, particularly my job. I can't be too far away from it. And I just felt so trapped in my life. I felt like Groundhog Day
Yeah.
over and over and over again, with it not in Groundhog Day, the movie, Bill Murray, every day he gets to make it better. That's not what was happening. Let's be clear. So, and
Yes.
then I talked to other teachers, and it's like some were moving on in the district, but I didn't want to go that route. I don't want to spend more time with the challenging celebrities of our student body by
Yeah.
becoming principal. That was not. I got into teaching because I loved literature, because I loved the
Mm-hmm.
deeper concepts, the mysteriousness of it. I love when people get inspired and the kids are like, wow, like they're not thinking about 1800s poets, but when they
Mm-hmm.
do and they plug in and they're like, wow, I mean, those are the moments, right? And those were getting a little smaller and smaller. And then being told that they weren't valuable, that I should be
Mm-hmm.
teaching other things and provided other curriculum that was just so subpar. So I prayed for personal revelation as to what I could do, because I started seeing, really, really trying to tune in to women that I heard on podcasts
Yeah.
or Nancy Meyer movies, where the woman is like, Diane Keaton, and she's going, she has, the beach house in the Hamptons, and these women that were doing amazing things and having amazing adventures, fictitious or real. that were of a certain age, that had done the, earlier dream job that had allowed them to grow. And I didn't know where that was. So I said a prayer. And in the prayer, when I was praying desperately for personal revelation,
Mm.
I got this inspiration for literary adventures.
Mm-hmm.
That name came to mind immediately. And initially, it was just the initial inspiration was just lesson plans and enrichment activities that I've been doing for 17 years, designed to get students with the curriculum that we have in school currently, the works, to have more meaningful activities and interactions with that work. Yeah, I know it's really important to discuss theme and everything, but it's also important to know, to get the kid to buy in to the play, the author, the poem, the short story, the novel. Like, we can't sanitize it so much. They should be. Why do I love English? Why do I love literature? Because I could literally dive in mentally, not literally, figuratively dive in, and a whole world would open. And that's what the kids are missing these days. That doesn't happen. They don't read. They're not expected to read. We're told that novels are not necessary. And they're so concerned about them learning how to do a TikTok that they don't teach them the worlds that open.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, I love that so much. There's so much there for us to dive into. I do want us to just talk for a moment about, like, you settled on literary adventures after a little bit of kind of turmoil and searching, and as you said, you prayed a lot about it, but there was one point in time in that where you weren't sure that you wanted to go down that road, that it was like something more conventional of maybe I'll be a realtor or, something like that. So talk a little bit about that part of your journey of being able to, go towards something that was in your heart and was kind of nagging at you from a heart perspective, but that you, and again, these are my words, obviously, that you were more concerned about and thinking that you needed to maybe go a more traditional approach.
I think, as you know, again, long story, but I think any adventure starts out with the initial, yes, this is it. I can see it. Because if you can't see it, then you don't start, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I saw it. I felt it. I talked to people about it. I was on fire about it. I was so excited. And then the reality of the adventure starts to settle in. I always tell my students, when you see an Indiana Jones movie, it's called an adventure because he lived.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was exciting for him to fall into the pit of snakes. He did not like that, right? Like, there's a lot of confusion, and we rejoice at the end when it works out. But I think adventure means being lost a little bit of the time, or a lot of the time. And I found myself just so overwhelmed with all that I did not know. And I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't have anyone else who was going down a similar journey. I tried to do what I could, and it was just kind of an overwhelming disaster. And so I put a pause on it. And I love homes. I love home design. I'm constantly obsessed with my house. And I thought, well, that's another thing I love. And if I want to start building up money so that I can put myself in a place of financial freedom, real estate seems obvious to me. I've lived here most of my life. I know the market. I know I'm on Zillow every day. Like, this seemed like a natural fit.
Yeah.
And I took the classes and I appreciated it. But the more I went into it, the more I was like, here's the problem. When I think of houses and I think of real estate, I think of flipping properties and showing everybody how something ugly became beautiful, and inspiring people and providing experiences for people. And when I started talking to you, I had a whole plan that was a good plan, and I still stand by it. But the actual implementation of it, and you were so great. You were like, well, I hear you talking about this part and this part, but not the actual selling part. And I'm like, yeah, there's that. And then when you were like, was there anything else that you've thought about? And I told you about literary adventures. Here's the other thing. I think when you have an idea and you feel so strongly about it, and then the doubt starts to come in.
Yeah.
When you start to tell people about your idea, I've been very blessed in my life. Everybody I've ever shared anything with has been so supportive. But you feel a little bit like that person who always has an idea and let me hit you with one more and let me hit you with one more. And they start to not take you seriously. Then you start to not take yourself seriously. And when I told you the idea, I was kind of hesitant because I kind of feel like in trying to stop this feeling of entrapment and finding a new direction, I went through a lot of ideas and I pitched a lot of ideas, and I didn't want to be that idea girl that just never does anything. And when you had your reaction to it, it was so strong. It helped me so much remember, oh yeah, this was a good idea. Sometimes it's, how can you quantify how important it is to have those pillars in your life or mentors or people that you respect? That old adage of, if you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. I knew that. I didn't know how to change it at that moment. But talking with you and some other people that we both know and signing up for conferences to meet new people who might know more than me, it changed everything. And ever since I revalidated that literary adventures idea, I just haven't gone back. Like that's the thing.
Hello, friends. Thanks so much for listening to this conversation with Elizabeth. It is just such a delightful conversation. So I know that you have women in your life who feel trapped in their current jobs or businesses, or that their dream job they've outgrown it and it's no longer serving them, and they are in a place where they are suffering or just not doing well. So I would love for you to just press pause right now and share this episode with them. You can text it to them, email it to them, just copy and paste the link and send it right over. One of the main ways that more people hear about Courage Becomes Her is simply by us sharing it with our friends and family and women in our lives who we know will be encouraged and inspired by the stories of these women who are just vulnerably sharing their stories with us. So thank you so much for today sharing this Elizabeth story with someone that you know. And please don't forget to go and rate and review the podcast on whatever app that you are using to listen to today's episode. Thanks so much. We've talked a lot about this in our conversations, but there is that you're emphasizing that necessity to pay attention to your gut, to your intuition. Like, you know yourself better than basically anybody else on the face of the planet. And you know what's in your heart. And I think that you've pointed out a couple of reasons why it's easy to ignore that, to second guess that, to doubt that. But when we lean into that and give ourselves the room to explore it and to navigate it and to just wrestle around with the idea, it's just so beautiful. And I love that you did that and you gave yourself the space to do that over a couple of months' time, to journal about it, talk with people about it, as you said, and just really to allow yourself to move back to that place of the confidence that you had at one point had in it, but then had kind of lost that along the way.
Yeah, but it's so important. The thing that I've learned most is, if nothing changes, nothing changes. If you are starting something completely different, you're going to need completely different resources. You're going to need to meet new people. What's hard for you may not be hard. It may be obvious for somebody else. Just because nobody understands this world or knows or can point you in a direction.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that there aren't people out there that can do that and see it as a obvious, oh yeah, well, of course.
Yeah.
But when you're around everybody else who hasn't done what you're trying to do, and they also were like, yeah, you're right, this is too big, I don't know, like that is woo, I don't know how anybody does
Mhm.
that, good luck. It's I think it becomes a big hairy monster instead of a
Mhm.
path.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so, so good. So well said. I love your phrase that you said of adventure means being lost a bit of the time. And I think that is so good for us to think about that for whatever reason, like we think when we set out on an adventure that it's just going to be smooth sailing and beautiful and blue skies and just all of the good things, and we don't think about, like you said, the snake pit or just getting lost. And I think there is something in that of just welcoming that, looking for that. So maybe for you, like how have you allowed that to be a comfortable space for you? Or maybe it's still not comfortable, but at least allowing it.
I don't think snake pits are ever comfortable. But I will say this: smooth sailing, blue skies, garden paths. That's a vacation,
Mm,
right? An adventure is the thing that makes you a hero at the end.
mm, mm,
So if you want a vacation, I think we have to be very clear. And that's another part of this process is what I thought I wanted something that actually through the process I'm learning was not what I wanted
yeah.
from this experience. And I think now when I look at the adventure or the snake pits or the big, opposition in all things, I'm starting to think every time those things happen, I think, well, this must really be worth doing. The
Hmm.
bigger the challenge that's set in front of me, or the bigger the opposition to try to stop me from pursuing that, just lets me know that I'm onto something.
Yeah.
And one thing that's so important also is that the snake pits and the cliffhangers and the, getting covered in mud or whatever, we anticipate those to go on for a long time. It's like,
Mm,
oh my gosh, I'm going to have to be here. Like, here it comes, tidal wave, tidal
mhm.
wave. Truth, at least, let me knock on something here. But, I think oftentimes that uncomfortable moment or that moment of bewilderment of, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this and I don't know how to do that. And how do I make this happen? Because as we know, every time you're like, I'm going to apply for this job or I'm going to put something on social media, that's the first goal, but that just leads you to 17 things you need to learn to get to that point. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Whatever the uncomfortable moment is, it lasts much shorter time than you usually think it's going to.
Yeah.
So if you can just be like, okay,
Mm,
here it is. I must be on to something big
yeah.
because opposition doesn't want me to push through.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if we could just look at that as this could be long or it could be really short?
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do we wake up one morning and we're like, oh, that's it. I don't know how to do it. It's over. I've ruined it. It's never going to work out. And then we get a phone call the next morning. Oh, never mind. I learned how to take out the background of that picture. Everything's okay.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm, so good. I love that so much. So you've told us a little bit, but tell us just a little bit more about what is Literary Adventures and what can we expect now that we're seeing it start to show up in our social media and other places.
Well, Literary Adventures is my website, the blog on the website, social media, and merchandise that revolves around the mysteries, the intrigue of classic literature. And I have all kinds of areas. So it's going to be based around the adventurous or the intriguing regarding certain pieces of literature or the authors themselves, because there's nothing more bizarre than artists. And a lot of times you're like, what? Or the connections that be made. And also, I have spent my adult life trying to travel to these places. And one thing I noticed is, there are very few satisfying deep dive literary tours. And like, for the person who's not like, oh yeah, I read that book one time, but like deep hardcore fans, like you have Jane Austen festivals and stuff like that. But even for Jane Austen, who's probably, she's the biggest punch for females, I would say, there's a lot unexplored.
Yeah.
And I've had fantasies for years of being like, okay, let's go to this place. Let's go to that place. So I'm going to take you on my adventures through my blog, through videos, through pictures, through live feeds. I'm also going to provide lesson plans for the artists, works, and poets that you might be able to use in your classroom, because I'll be hitting the majors. Yeah. Also, if you are an Edgar Allan Poe fan, let's say, I'm going to have some great t-shirts, mugs, and luggage, because it's adventure, right? And I found a really cute way to do passports, passport covers, luggage tags, so that for freaks like me, and I know there's a lot of us out there.
That's right.
Oh, you're like, yes, give me that John Keats, backpack. I'm taking it, and there's no place for us. We have individual things, but not as a whole,
Yep. I love it. Oh gosh, I'm just super, super excited. So, adventures for all lovers of literature.
That's right. Now, remember, it's ed ventures, because we do have a little bit of education in there for the lesson plan.
Right. Yeah.
So it is ed ventures. And my little black cocker spaniel, Penelope, will be helping me on these adventures, and you will see her too. So she's
beautiful. So fun. I love it. Okay. So you know that I have found this to be such a courageous adventure journey that you have been on. So tell us who or what is inspiring courage in you today.
I think I am just going to go back to what I said before. Women, all women. Sarah McDaniel of Simply Southern Cottage, Wendy Conklin of Chair Whimsy, Toby Fairley, who got me thinking about this, Jensen Chero, who made me reimagine my life when I was so stuck and so dark, and You Are a Badass. And I was like, is this real? Like, I don't know. But she got me to, through her literature, you who have opened my eyes to, like, every time I'm like, that's it, Laurel. I don't know what to do. Like, that's it. It's over. Like, I'm done. I don't know how to do it. You're like, or, and paving a path. So many women. And then just, also, again, fictional, seeing these depictions, or Nancy Meyer, who is a screenwriter in her 70s that has developed, like, the second half of our lives should be the best, I think, because you're coming with all this experience. You are over, hopefully, all the stuff from your youth. And I'm somebody who can't wait for the adventures ahead. And the only reason that's possible is because I've been seeing how it has been possible for other women just taking their lives, and they're going with it where they want to. And they're saying, who said you can't do that? Who said you can't do that? What if you could? And God bless all of them and the women that I'm going to meet in the future. Like, it is a movement, and I'm super excited to be here for it.
Me too. Me too. Well, thank you, because you are inspiring courage in me and in others, I know. So thank you so much for sharing your journey, your adventure with us.
Thank you so much, Laurel.
Okay, I know you are ready to go on a tour of everything Edgar Allan Poe or everything William Shakespeare or everything Mary Shelley with Elizabeth. She is just so inspiring about literature. I love her inspiration to us and her courage to really set out on this new dream and this new journey and to work through those doubts and that sense of overwhelm and just the things that were keeping her from moving forward and from bringing literary adventures to life for us. I know she is just going to be such an inspiration to all of us through Lizzie Everwright and Penelope as they go on their adventures. And I'm excited for us to join her and to support her and hopefully at some point in time actually take a trip with her to Europe in person and have her, walk us on one of these amazing tours and really help us to become lovers of literature ourselves and to be steeped in that culture as well. One thing I really, really love and appreciate about what Elizabeth said, and I want to call it out for us, is the necessity of when you're starting a new adventure to really make sure that you have new inputs in your life, that people mean well, but they don't always have your vision like you do. And so you've got to surround yourself with new people, whether that be through a coach or through conferences or through people that you're following on social media, just different and new inspirations, stimulations, things that will help you to really be encouraged and motivated to work through those doubts, through that overwhelm, through, some of those hurdles that are going to come in your way as you start on a new adventure. So I really appreciate that she brought that reminder for us because that is an absolute necessity when we're launching into something new. So go and join Elizabeth on Literary Adventures. The link to Instagram is there, but it's Literary Adventures with an E, EDVENTURES, Literary Adventures. And I know that you will just continue to be inspired by her and her love for literature. So thank you so much for listening. Friends, as always, it is an honor to help you to cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in your life and work. What a privilege it has been to journey with these women through their inspiring leaps of faith these last couple of months. Thank you so much for listening and for sharing their stories. Next week, I have a very special treat for us, and the week following we'll begin a new series that I'll tell you more about next week. I know that there are many ways that you can choose to use your time, so thank you so much for choosing to be a part of the Courage Becomes Her community and listening to these inspiring and beautiful stories.